The late afternoon sun spilled across the New Mexico plains, turning the river into a shimmering ribbon of gold as Cowboy, Colt Maddox, guided his horse toward the quiet bend where he often watered his animals. A man used to silence wide horizons and the slow honesty of the land. Colt didn't expect to see anyone there, much less a young Apache woman kneeling by the water's edge, her long black braids falling over her shoulders as she washed a torn buckskin dress. She didn't see him at first. She was too focused, her expression tight with worry, her hands shaking as she scrubbed the cloth like she was trying to erase something terrible from it. Colt slowed his horse, unsure whether to turn away or call out, not wanting to startle her. But the moment she lifted her head, their eyes met, hers wide, dark, full of fear but also fierce, pride that hadn't been broken despite whatever she had gone through. Colt raised his hands to show he meant no harm, and the woman glanced around as though expecting danger to leap from the brush. Her dress, what she had been wearing, before she took it off, lay beside her in tatters, ripped in jagged lines that told a story no one ever wanted to live. "I ain't here to bother you," Colt said gently, dismounting slowly. "Just watering my horse." She didn't answer, but she also didn't run, and that was enough for him to stay a few feet back, giving her space. After a tense silence, she finally spoke in a soft, steady voice. "My name is Nayeli." Colt noticed the cuts on her arms, the bruising along her collarbone, fresh, ugly, and unhidden. Whoever tore her dress had hurt more than the cloth. He knelt by the river too, keeping distance but showing solidarity, dipping his canteen as his horse drank. "Looks like you've been through hell," he murmured. She hesitated, then whispered, "3 men, drunk, hunting deer on our land. I tried to stop them. They tried to take more." Colt felt rage coil inside him like a tightened rope, but he kept his voice calm for her sake. "Did you get away?" She nodded. "I fought. One of them will not walk for some time." There was quiet strength in her tone, the kind that told Colt she was no ordinary woman. Apache women were known for their courage, but something about her, her composure, her fire, made her stand out like someone born to lead. Colt studied the land around them. The tracks were messy, rushed, chaotic. Those men weren't far. "Your family close?" he asked. Nayeli shook her head. "They moved camp south for the harvest. I stayed behind with my grandmother. But she is sick and cannot travel." Colt knew that meant she couldn't leave her behind. Apache family ties were sacred. He stood, wiping his hands. "All right then," he said. "I'll get you both safe." Her eyes snapped toward him. "Why, you owe me nothing. You are a white cowboy. My people do not trust your people." Colt's jaw tightened. "And my people don't always think kindly of yours. But trouble don't ask what color you are before it comes for you. And I ain't about to leave someone hurt and alone." For the first time, her expression softened. She studied him as though weighing his soul, testing his sincerity. After several long seconds, she nodded once. "My grandmother is in a cabin behind the pines." Colt followed her, through the trees to a small, weathered wooden shack. Inside, an elderly woman lay coughing under a woven blanket. Colt removed his hat respectfully. "Ma'am," he whispered. The old woman smiled faintly, recognizing the cowboy not as a threat but a lifeline. Nayeli explained everything in Apache, and her grandmother's eyes filled with sorrow but also relief that her granddaughter had returned safe. Colt scanned the sparse room, only dried roots. No proper medicine, no protection. No one else around for miles. "They'll come looking," he said quietly. "Men like that never walk away after being shamed." Nayeli nodded grimly. "I know." Colt leaned against the doorway, thinking. He was just one man, but one man with a rifle, a good horse, a sharp mind, and now, a cause that felt like it had chosen him rather than the other way around. "If they come," he said, "they'll have to go through me first." The wind pushed through the trees, carrying the smell of dust and danger. Colt looked back toward the river where he first saw her kneeling, fragile but unbroken. Something in that moment shifted between them, a thread tying their lives together, woven from fear, courage, and unexpected fate. Little did they know the night ahead would test not only their strength but also whether strangers divided by culture could stand side by side when darkness came hunting. And before we continue, dear listeners, remember to subscribe to the channel for more powerful Western stories that touch the heart and stir the soul. Night settled fast across the land. draping the plains in a blanket of violet. Shadows as a cold wind swept through the pines. Inside the small cabin, Colt sat by the door with his rifle resting across his knees, keeping watch while Naeli tended to her grandmother with gentle hands and whispered prayers. The old woman's breathing softened. Comforted by the presence of someone strong standing guard, Naeli lit a small clay lamp, and its warm glow lit her face, determined yet exhausted, brave yet still shaken. Colt felt a strange mix of protectiveness and admiration rise within him, emotions he hadn't expected when riding to the river earlier that day. As hours passed, Naeli finally sat beside him near the doorway. "You do not have to stay," she murmured. "Danger follows those men. They will come with anger, and they will come armed." Colt kept his eyes on the dark tree line. "I've handled worse than a few cowards who pick fights with unarmed women," he replied, but inside he knew this wasn't going to be simple. Men like those didn't forget humiliation, and they didn't forgive resistance, especially not from an Apache woman who had fought back. Around midnight, the cabin's silence snapped when the distant thumping of hooves echoed across the plains. Naeli stiffened, her hand instinctively reaching for the small knife strapped to her boot. Colt placed a calming hand on her arm. "Stay inside," he whispered. "I'll go talk to him." He stepped out into the open, rifle in hand, feeling the night air press against his skin like a warning. 3 riders emerged from the shadows, their horses restless, their faces lit by the glow of a lantern swinging from a saddle horn. Colt recognized them instantly, ranch hands from the Turner outfit. Known troublemakers, men who drank too much and thought too little. The leader, a thick-necked man named Creighton, sneered when he saw Colt. "Well, looky here," he drawled. "Didn't expect you guarding Apache filth." Colt didn't flinch. "You boys need to turn around and ride out. You've caused enough harm today." Creighton's lip curled. "She scratched my face. Kicked me in the leg. We aim to teach her manners." Colt stepped forward, his eyes cold steel. "You lay a hand on her and I'll teach you something too." Behind Colt, Naeli watched through a crack in the door, her heart pounding. She knew these men had cruelty in their blood. Creighton dismounted, swaggering closer. "Move aside, cowboy. Ain't your business." Colt lowered his rifle, not in surrender but in warning. "You should have stayed drunk in town," he said. "Now you're sober enough to regret this." Creighton reached for his gun, but Colt drew first. A single shot cracked through the night, echoing across the plains. Creighton's pistol flew from his hand, sending him stumbling back with a howl. "Next one goes through your leg," the Colty warned. The other 2 riders hesitated, fear flickering in their eyes. They weren't brave. They were bullies, and bullies fled when real strength stood in front of them. After a tense standoff, they turned their horses and galloped into the darkness, leaving Creighton scrambling after them. Colt let out a slow breath and lowered his rifle. Naeli rushed out, her eyes shining with gratitude and disbelief. "You risked your life for me," she whispered. "For us," Colt shrugged. "Some folks are worth fighting for." Her expression softened, not with fear, but with warmth. "My people, we do not forget kindness," she said quietly. "You defended me when no other would." Dawn broke slowly, painting the horizon pink and gold. The danger was gone for now, but something new had settled between them. A bond that felt ancient and unexpected. Naeli stood beside him at the riverbank where their paths first crossed. She dipped her newly mended dress into the water. The tears stitched closed. The fabric whole again, like her spirit healing piece by piece. Colt watched her, understanding that fate had brought him to her not by accident but by design. When she looked up at him, her voice was soft but steady. "You came to the river a stranger," she said. "But you leave something else." Colt smiled faintly. Maybe someone who finally found what he didn't know he was looking for. And as the wind brushed through, the grass and the river whispered beneath the rising sun. Their 2 worlds, Apache and Cowboy, no longer felt distant but entwined, held together by courage, compassion, and the kind of fate that changes lives forever. And dear viewers, if you enjoyed this powerful Western story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you never miss another emotional tale. Your support means everything.